Imagine being the prey. Not occasionally, not in the wrong place at the wrong time. Always. Every hawk, every snake, every fox, cat, owl, weasel, and mongoose has been hunting your kind for millions of years. They've had 40 million years to wipe you out, and yet you are still here. Not in spite of the predators, not by hiding from them, not by becoming stronger, faster, or more dangerous. Just here, everywhere, in numbers that none of them could ever reduce. This is not luck. This is not weakness dressed up as survival. This is the oldest, most ruthlessly tested biological strategy on the planet. And Pokémon number 19 has been running it since before we had a name for it. I'm Professor Dex, and this is DexBiology, where we classify Pokémon as real Earth organisms. Rattata, Pokédex number 19, 30 centimeters long, 3.5 kilograms. At first glance, small, purple, completely unremarkable, a rodent. But the Pokédex gives us two lines that change everything. It eats anything. Wherever food exists, it will settle and produce offspring. And it gnaws on anything with its powerful front teeth. Concrete walls are no obstacle. Read those together. An organism that eats anything, lives anywhere, reproduces at every opportunity, and has teeth that can chew through concrete. This is not a weak Pokémon. This is a biological strategy so effective that evolution has barely touched it in 40 million years. Rattata's body is a study in deliberate generalism. Compact and low-slung for navigating tight spaces, beneath floors, inside walls, through pipes. Limbs built equally for sprinting, climbing, and swimming. Whiskers functioning as precision sensory arrays, mapping three-dimensional space in total darkness. A digestive system with a tolerance for a wider range of organic material than almost any comparable mammal. Nothing about this body is optimized for one environment. Everything about it is optimized for every environment. But the most important feature is the teeth. Rattata's incisors are hypsodontic, meaning they are not fixed growth like human teeth. They never stop growing. At rest, the uppers and lowers grind against each other, maintaining a razor edge through constant self-sharpening. The enamel on the front face is harder than iron. The dentine behind it is softer, creating a differential that keeps the tip perpetually sharp, like a self-honing chisel, like a biological chainsaw that sharpens itself every time it bites. The bite force per unit area exceeds that of most large predators. There is, however, a consequence to this system. If the teeth are not used, if Rattata stops gnawing, they don't wear down. They keep growing, curling inward, until they pierce its own skull. Until the organism can no longer close its mouth. Until it can no longer eat. The teeth that make it almost indestructible are also the thing that requires it to never stop. Here's the thing about this line. We've analyzed fire-breathing lizards, living hydraulic cannons, organisms that dissolve themselves and rebuild from scratch. And statistically, Rattata is more dangerous to human civilization than any of them. Not because it's stronger, not because it's smarter, because there are roughly 7 billion brown rats alive on Earth right now, one for every human. It doesn't need to win any individual fight. It just needs to still be there when the fight is over. What makes this line biologically extraordinary isn't any single feature. It's the system they form. Biologists call it R-selection, a reproductive strategy built around quantity over quality. Short gestation, large litters, early sexual maturity, rapid generational turnover. Real rats reach sexual maturity at 5 weeks. Gestation, 21 days. Average litter, 8 to 12 pups. A single breeding pair, left unchecked, can theoretically produce over 15,000 descendants in a single year. The predators don't need to win. They just need to be slower than the birth rate. And they always are. But Rattata doesn't just reproduce fast. It reproduces fast in the right conditions and adjusts. Population too large for available food? Litter sizes drop. Maturity slows slightly. Resources abundant? The system accelerates. This isn't instinct in the crude sense. This is a population-level feedback mechanism, a living organism that self-regulates at the group scale. Most apex predators take years to replace a single individual. Rattata replaces the entire local population before the season changes. There is one real-world animal that maps almost perfectly onto this line. Not a close relative, not a similar species. The brown rat, Rattus norvegicus. The brown rat originated in China and Siberia. It reached Europe aboard trading ships in the 1700s. Within a century, it had colonized every inhabited continent on Earth. Today, it lives on every continent except Antarctica, and the only reason it hasn't reached Antarctica is that humans haven't given it a reliable food source there yet. It has survived every eradication campaign ever launched against it. Poison campaigns, trap programs, introduced predators, habitat destruction. In cities where every resource is spent trying to eliminate them, the population rebounds to pre-campaign levels within months. The brown rat can tread water for 3 days. It can fall 5 stories and walk away. It can gnaw through lead pipes, aluminum sheeting, and yes, low-grade concrete. It has been documented navigating the inside of active sewage systems. And critically, it learns. Brown rats that survive a poison bait station avoid that bait forever. They pass the avoidance behavior to their offspring through observed behavior. The species is, in real time, evolving cultural knowledge. Rattata would be even better at it. Rattata takes all of this and adds teeth that cut through concrete. Raticate is Pokédex number 20, 70 centimeters, 18.5 kilograms. The body has grown, but the changes aren't just size. Raticate isn't just a larger Rattata, it's the same strategy, with the tolerances removed. The hind feet are now partially webbed, confirming full semi-aquatic capability. This organism comfortably operates across land, water, and enclosed spaces simultaneously. The musculature has shifted toward burst speed. The Pokédex notes it chases prey at a full run, forcing them toward walls or dead ends before striking. This is active hunting strategy, not just opportunism. Deliberate, structured pursuit. And the teeth. The Pokédex is specific. Raticate's fangs are strong enough to gnaw through concrete and steel. In real terms, the bite force would need to exceed that of a saltwater crocodile, the highest recorded bite force of any animal on Earth, from an organism the size of a house cat. But the constraint remains. The teeth never stop growing, and Raticate is significantly larger, which means the growth rate is higher, which means it has to gnaw more, constantly, aggressively. An organism that must always be consuming or destroying something just to keep its own biology in check. That is not a weakness. That is a guarantee of perpetual aggression. The R strategy has one structural vulnerability. It only works at scale. An individual Rattata is not dangerous. It is small, fast, and difficult to catch. But a hawk, a snake, or a large cat takes it without difficulty. The strategy doesn't protect individuals. It protects the population, which means a single Rattata, isolated, cut off from its population, removed from its ecosystem, is genuinely fragile. No armor, no venom, no fire, no shell. Just speed, teeth, and the assumption that there are thousands more where it came from. Remove that assumption, and you have a very small rodent with very large teeth. And then there is the tooth dependency. In any environment where there is nothing to gnaw, no wood, no stone, no organic material, Rattata's greatest tool becomes its greatest threat. The incisors keep growing regardless. In a sterile, empty space, the organism faces a slow, irreversible biological failure from the inside. This is the paradox at the core of this line. The strategy that makes it impossible to eliminate at scale is the same strategy that makes the individual dependent on never stopping. Its greatest strength and its only real vulnerability are the exact same thing, never stopping. So, could the Rattata line survive on Earth? Let's score them. Rattata, 9.7 out of 10, a near-perfect generalist, viable in almost any ecosystem on Earth. Raticate, 9 out of 10, stronger and more dangerous, but the teeth introduce a fragility no predator can ignore. Overall line, 9.5 out of 10, the most Earth-viable line we've analyzed, not because it's best at anything, because it never needs to be. Every line we've analyzed has had a central trade-off. Charmander trades safety for output, a flame that sustains life but can't ever go out. Squirtle trades power for control, a pressure system one failure away from detonation. Pidgeot trades biological viability for speed, pushing past what matter can survive. Rattata's trade-off is different. It trades individual safety for collective invincibility. The organism is expendable. The population is not. And on Earth, in every environment, in every climate, in every ecosystem that has ever existed, that trade-off wins. Not because Rattata is the strongest, not because it's the fastest, or the most venomous, or the most armored, because it is never too good to eat whatever is in front of it. Never too proud to live behind the wall instead of in front of it. Never, under any circumstances, willing to stop. That is among the highest Earth Viability Scores this series has given, and it belongs to the Pokémon everyone underestimates. If this kind of breakdown is what you came here for, where the biology actually matters, subscribe, because we're going through the entire Pokédex. And the lines you expect to be boring are almost always the ones that surprise you most. Rattata survives by being everywhere, by being adaptable, relentless, unremarkable. The next line doesn't do any of that. It doesn't hide, it doesn't adapt, it doesn't come down. An organism built around the idea that the ground itself is the failure state, that spends its entire adult life airborne, covering distances that should exhaust any living thing, and ends every hunt with a single precision strike from a beak built like a spear. Spearow. Vero. And its biology is what happens when a hunter decides landing is the weakness. The DexBiology merch line is up, links below. So here's the question I'll leave you with. Rattata never tried to be the best at anything, and it outlasted all of them. So what does that say about what we think power actually is?